Go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, I call this Wednesday, July 23rd, 2025, Northborough Fire Station Building Committee meeting to order. The first thing we have, I've got to talk about John first. John Rapper is here as a member of financial planning. He's the liaison from financial planning, and he has input, but he cannot vote. So, first item on our agenda is public comment.
I don't see anybody here.
I don't see any public. Okay. Approval of the meeting minutes from June 25th, 2025. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from the June 25th, 2025 meeting.
Do I hear a second? Okay. Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
All right.
Okay. Construction update.
June 20, that was the one I was on Zoom, right? I was at that
Yeah,
meeting.
you
Okay,
were
I was just making
You
sure.
were. I
That's
would have
the
said
one
something if you.
Okay.
So construction's moving along. We finally have some dry weather, so that's helpful. The bulk of the activity lately on site has been excavating down to the natural soils, getting rid of the fill that was placed either years ago when they were kind of leveling that site before they even built the gas station, and then in the area where we had some petroleum contaminated soils. So they put in structural fill to build that soils back up to a level where they can then place the footings on that. So the reinforcing for the concrete is supposed to arrive Friday. They're excavating out those areas, and so they'll start with the footings along the front of the apparatus bay in that corner, and then work their way to the west and then to the south. So there's some big pier footings in the center of the apparatus bay. They're probably, 10 foot by 10 foot, and they'll be, pretty deep. So the formwork for that will also be showing up on Friday, and so you'll start to see some other types of activity starting to happen, probably more people on site as more trades start to occupy the site.
Tim, where's the oil water separator? We talked about that today, but where is that going? Is it under the station, under the apparatus, under the apron? Where's that going?
It's under the apron.
Under the apron, okay.
Any questions? About the permitting.
I had one, just a little question. I know it sounded like possibly have been able to get the agreement to use the existing culvert of the other parties, or we don't have to get into that, but I have a question that's related to drainage, because some residents were asking me, because the culvert came up, and I was like, I don't think most of the water is going that way. I think most of the water is draining into the soil underneath through the underground capture facilities and otherwise. Could you speak to, I know this isn't perfect, but like big picture wise, 90%, something like that, about how much of the rainfall do we expect would be
Yeah.
absorbed in the site versus go off to the creek?
I don't know if I can give you a percentage. I would
That's
have to
okay.
talk to the engineers about that and their calculations, but you're right. We're trying to handle as much of it as we possibly can on site, and so it would be what we aren't able to handle on site because of the groundwater elevation and the challenges of infiltrating with that groundwater. So we were originally going to tie into the existing.
Right, and we saved some money potentially, because we would have had to increase the size of that
working
one.
on that.
Okay,
We're
so,
still-
sorry, TBD, I'm not trying to get
Yeah.
ahead of
No, we
ourselves.
actually have something to talk about. There.
Yeah, we're still working on that. What we worked out with, in consultation with Scott Charpentier and the civil engineers, we came up with an alternate to do our own outfall connection, which is roughly parallel to the existing one there. And there were a number of benefits to doing that. It wasn't going to require tying into Mass DOT's system. It was going to have less of an impact on the wetlands over there. It was going to have less of an impact on Dunkin' Donuts. And there were some other issues. So we decided to go that route, and that we started the permitting process with the Conservation Commission here in town. We appeared before the committee last Monday. They didn't close the hearing at that time. We still needed to get some feedback from the Conservation Commission agent. which we got this week. The engineers are working through his comments to get a response to him, and then we'll appear before the Concom again on August 11th, hopefully to close all of that. In the meantime, Mass DOT still wants to review all of this, and so we asked for a meeting with Mass DOT, because we have a number of permit applications in with Mass DOT for utility connections, for the drainage, for curb cuts along the state road. They're kind of looking at them all together now, rather than as individual ones. So we asked to have a meeting to bring everybody together and get it all out on the table. And we actually just heard today that they've scheduled that meeting for tomorrow morning. So we'll
Well, that was more detail than I was expecting. I appreciate all of that. And the takeaway for me is what I'm hearing. We don't know the exact amount. It could be figured out, but my guesstimate was it's more than half of the water, probably much higher than half of the water. But there was some concerns from some folks about how much water we're pushing over into the creek. And I was like, I doubt it's that much, but I'll try to make sure we're minimizing our effect on the environment, of course, which everyone I know is conscious of. And it sounds like the Conservation Commission is looking into it too as well. So
Yep.
satisfied with that. Thank you.
Okay. Brings us to the permitting update, which I think you just updated us mostly.
Basically, I don't have anything.
The only thing I would mention is we did get the building permit issued.
Oh, yeah.
Came through on Friday?
Yeah, last week.
So that's really good. That was not that we were concerned about it, but we wanted to make sure we were permitted under the previous year as opposed to after July 1st, because everything changed after July 1st. Luckily, we had HKT and everyone else got all the paperwork in time. We were able to get it permitted earlier, and Bob actually just finished off the permitting, and we had the permit in hand as of Friday. That's a really good thing.
Madam Chair, question for the chief. The scope of that permitting, it's a building permit with the town, but what's in that?
So it's the permit for the entire construction.
The whole McGill, okay.
Yeah. Now, there are a few outstanding things that he's looking for, but nothing that would stop us from starting and moving forward. And then, like, there's some stuff like what's going to be underneath the wall. You know, he needs to know exactly that and a few other things. But the Teddy report, we just closed out the Teddy report.
Yeah.
So, but most of this stuff is very simple stuff we need to get him.
Thank you.
Okay. Financial update, schedule update.
Well, schedule kind of goes hand in hand with what we talked about of what's going on site. But basically, we're on schedule. The idea is to get up out of the ground. So, there's a lot of people might be driving by and say, okay, there's a lot of activity in the beginning and they cleared the site and then I don't really see anything. And really, it's a lot of to kind of get that soil, the right material to support the weight of the building. And then once we get the footings in, they'll start going in really quick. The foundation walls, short foundation walls will go in pretty quick. And then the steel will start coming on board. So that's when you'll see another big kind of spike in activity. It'll seem to take shape really quickly, but then filling in all that steel takes a long time. But we're where we anticipated being. We're talking already about in our job meetings about winter conditions and tenting in the building, and that's going to be critical to get to a point where we can enclose it and they can start doing work inside and be kind of weather tight, at least with temporary protection.
So we're still on target.
Yeah, we're still on target.
Anything else? All right, financial update.
So I wasn't able to make copies of this, but I have a summary of our budget that I'll pass out each month. And essentially,
If you email that to me, I can send it out to everybody.
okay. Yeah, so our total project budget was 44.8 million. And of that, we have under contract 33.6. So we also have planned work, but not contracted. Furniture and fixtures, we have other fees and expenses that we anticipate through the course of construction, through the course of the project, but we just haven't contracted that work yet. And then we also have contingencies that haven't been spent yet or haven't been spent down yet. So right now, we're in great shape. We're where we expect to be. There haven't been any change orders yet. We do have some proposed change orders in that we're reviewing. They total about $165,000 in proposed change orders, but One of them was for $100,000 for the structural fill to bring the site back up to where we need it. So we're reviewing that. We just got it yesterday, so we'll be reviewing that. The other ones, just to give a sense of what they are, so we talked about one time, one meeting ago, or a couple of meetings ago, about the boulders on site. So just the cost of excavating those, pulling them out, putting them in the rock crusher and breaking them down. There's a cost to that. Some handling of some contaminated soil. And then we have some things that, we know are going to come up. For instance, this drainage, whatever the plan is, we have a kind of a placeholder that we're carrying for that, but, we really don't, until we really know what the final plan is going to be, we really can't put a price to it or ask the contractor to put a price to it. But we'll be trying to track all of the things that we think may have a financial impact on the project, so at least we can report to you our exposure on finances, so you're up to date and tracking with the project, and you're not just reacting to changes as they come in, but once we understand that something may have a financial impact, then we'll let you know about it. But for right now, we're.
I had asked that they keep us up to date every meeting, because I hear about them every Wednesday, but most of them are, we have this potential change order, but we don't have a dollar with it yet, we don't know what it's going to be. But I wanted to make sure that they came to the meeting and said, this is what they are. Like, one of the things, and Tim didn't mention it, that came out of nowhere to me was having to mill and repave the front of the station, which MassDOT said, as one of their feedback said, we recommend you mill and pave from basically one end of the station to the other
Oh, the street.
of the street. They said, you don't have to. But if you don't, you need to send a letter saying that you realize that we, being MassDOT, have no intention of touching that street for a long time,
Is that because we're going to be cutting into it?
because we're going to be going across it.
Yeah.
So we discussed it and said, well, it's probably the best way to go. Scott Charpentier offered his expertise and said, with the work that's being done, it just makes sense to do it now. And so that's one of the, again, we don't know what the cost is going to be. They're still working it out, but that's something else that's going to be coming up.
Yeah, there'll be all sorts of things throughout that we'll track, and some of them that we see if a request for information comes in from the contractor, and we think it may have a cost, we might add it to our log, but then if it doesn't actually have an impact, we can cross it off. And so it's kind of our working document that we use throughout construction.
Tim, you cited $44.8 million. Does that include the land acquisition and the work that was done prior to the 41 and change being approved at town meeting? Yes or no?
Yes, I think that includes the 3.499.
Yep, thank you. Thought so.
The one other question, on the figure that you gave us for the what's under contract versus things to be contracted, is the geothermal system in the, under contract or to be contracted?
No, that's within
Okay, so
the-
that's within the 33-ish,
33.6.
whatever the number
33.
you said, 33.8, if I remembered correctly.
Yeah, 33.6.
Oh, 33.6.
The construction portion of that is 26.9
Gotcha.
and change, but,
At what point do they drill those wells, do you know?
well, I think they'll try and get most of their bigger, deeper items in, and then they'll kind of have a nice flat surface for their drilling rig and get that going. Because you do have them in all sorts of different sections of the site, but they'll want to mobilize just once if they can.
Yeah.
For the drilling rig, so.
That's a lot of space. Yeah, okay. None of those wells would be underneath the footprint of the building, obviously, it sounds like. I guess maybe it's not obvious. I've never seen a 75-well geothermal site, so I guess nothing's obvious to me.
We don't have any. You can do that, but
Okay.
we don't in this case.
Okay.
Amy, Tim, clarify number of wells to be drilled?
I don't know off the top of my head.
I guess I don't know.
Have to get
That was
back
from
to
the
I don't
50%
remember-
design document, so it could be different.
75 being cited.
No, I don't think it's that
I don't think
high.
it's that high.
I thought it was maybe 12 to 15.
Couple dozen.
18
Yeah,
or something.
yeah.
Yep.
Well, I could definitely be wrong. I think I got that from the 50% design, but maybe. I
And it may have
misunderstood
been.
that.
Probably
It
was
may
in
have-
50% design.
Once they do their analysis on how much thermal conductivity they're getting and how deep they go, if they go deeper, sometimes it can be fewer wells, but just go deeper versus shallower wells, and you have to do more.
12 sounds a lot more reasonable to me than 75, but I'm just, maybe I misread the document.
Suddenly it's Swiss cheese.
It may, you know, and I don't know what documents you're referring to.
It was a long
but-
time, many months ago,
Yeah,
so.
it may have been before the
Okay.
the geothermal engineer was brought on board too, and we were making certain assumptions, so.
I believe it
don't
was. It
know.
was before the
Yeah.
geothermal.
Okay, so scratch that. I was just working with old information, so, okay.
But bottom line, it is included in those numbers.
Okay, great. Because that was not a small amount, it was like 3 million or something like that.
It was a
Or
significant
4,
amount, yeah.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay. Review and approve Energy Tax Savers Service Agreement.
I don't have that in front of me, but we've been talking about, now that we're talking about geothermal, the IRA program has a tax incentives for geothermal systems, solar systems. So it makes sense to hire a consultant to assist with that. So they'll get us started with making sure we have the right documentation, that in the beginning, things that we can do now to make this go a more smooth process. Their fee is relatively minor, and again, I don't have that in front of me, but it's basically based on a percentage of what the grant for the tax savings would be. Yeah, so there's a sliding scale depending upon how much of the grant is. The retainer is $4,300.
Do you have there the brackets of like the range of the percentage by any chance in there?
I can speak to it because I was in the meeting. It was about 12 to 15, 15 being the top.
Okay.
He didn't believe we'd be anywhere near the top because of the price. So what it's based on
Yeah.
is the price of the install. So the gentleman came in, he was interviewed by myself, Todd, and Jason Little, our financial director. And he was giving us this kind of sliding scale, as was mentioned, because it just depends on what the total cost is. And when we told him what the anticipated cost was, he says, you're going to be on the lower end of the scale, not the higher end of the scale. But again, that's still something he's going to, we don't have the document yet from him, but he hasn't sent it in yet, has he?
No,
I don't
not
believe
yet.
so. Right.
Yeah.
Is that both the IRA and the Mass Save rebates? or
Mass
just the
Save is
one?
different.
It is, okay.
Yeah, Mass Save is pretty straightforward. We'll need to collect submittals and then verify what was put in versus what was designed. But the IRA is kind of a newer program. We have a school project, and I'm not on that project, but that's using, I believe, the same
Energy tax savers?
energy tax savers, and that was very helpful for them. But they're in construction now. Usually with the IRA, you don't apply for this until after the system is operational. So you don't want to have to then go back and try and find documentation and that, oh, if you had done it this way, you would have really been good. But unfortunately, you carried your numbers differently, so we just want to make sure we're doing it to maximize the potential tax savings.
Yeah, if I may, Chair, I've not experienced with this particular tax credit. There's another one that there were consultants that were hired a lot, the employee retention tax credit, which was like a huge thing under several actually of the acts. It was continued in multiple of them and became a very big headache. The IRS kept changing its rules, and so consultant sub-industry kind of formed, and then there was a separate debate about like, gee, were they charging fair amounts? And some of them were charging as much as 30% of the savings. And I don't know exactly all the work that would go into it, but to me, just gut reaction, 30% of the savings sounds like a lot. 10% sounds maybe more in the ballpark of reasonable, depending on the amount of work needed. But that's the reason I was asking. So, yeah, obviously we want to pay what's fair for services that are needed, of course.
I was hoping to have a copy of the agreement tonight, which is why this was on here. I don't think we can vote on it or make a decision on it without a copy of the agreement. But since it was on there, I
Yeah.
figured a presentation would be a good, at least you guys know what we were doing.
Yeah,
Chief, there was a copy in the first agenda that was sent out, not your recent
Yeah.
revised one.
But I don't think that was the final document. It didn't have a dollar number on it, did it?
Oh, 12,900.
Is it on there? Okay, it is on there. So I didn't have, I sent it all to Sarah and I said, Sarah, take care of this for me.
That was from the original agenda.
That'll teach me. So it's 12,000. I said we were on the
Yeah,
lower
that sounds
end.
pretty reasonable.
So in that case, we do have the number, if someone wanted to make a motion to go with it. And this gentleman, we did ask him, one of my concerns for the members of the committee were, how successful has he been? Right? And why was he recommended? So Colliers recommended him. Jason did some looking into him and thought he was it was a good company. And then when he explained that he's had great success already in several of and he's already seen money flowing finally, we really liked what he had to say, and that's why we made the suggestion to go forward with him.
Yeah, for the amount that we're seeking, that sounds like a reasonable
Yeah.
amount to me. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like a pretty straightforward agreement. I haven't seen it. I'd like to see it, but I'm inclined to vote for
You
it
should
today.
have a copy of it if it went out to
I just might not have been looking at it
Yeah.
right away.
The first agenda was sent out.
You went with it?
Or 10 days ago. It was an attachment. There was the agenda and that document.
If you might just flip that over to me, I could do it in like 30 seconds.
Oh, sure.
We could hopefully end up here with a vote, so. if that's
Yeah,
okay.
so it's 3 installments for payment. One is the retainer at 4,300, and then there's 2 other payments that would be due at 4,300.
Thank you, Captain. I appreciate you bringing that, because I remember discussing it, and I remember sending something to Sarah to send out, but I couldn't remember what it was. Yeah.
Now, is that something that was calculated as part of the building already?
It was not, but we do have room within the budget to carry that.
Madam Chair, I've looked at it. I'd be prepared to vote in favor of it. And to me, for the kind of work that's needed, based on my experience, it is good to have a consultant, and the amount in here looks reasonable to me, and that when it's paid, in other words, it's not all upfront, it's as they do the service, so I would be willing to support.
Excellent.
Do I hear a motion?
Madam Chair, I'm move to approve that the town, I don't know what.
The
Energy
energy
tax
tax
savers.
savers service
The Energy
agreement.
Tax Savers Service Agreement, that we review, that we approve it, to the extent our approval is necessary, that we say that we approve it, that the town enter that agreement with Energy Tax Savers, Inc. as presented.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Okay. HKT Architects, Inc. Discussion and vote on Amendment 10, bidding phase services.
So this was a bit of an oversight, and I may ask Tim and Chief to help me put this all together. When we did our initial fee proposal and contract with the town, it was for schematic design, design development, construction documents, and bidding. And then as we got into the project, there were some costs that came up, and I think the geothermal engineer was one of those costs, that needed to happen in order to get the cost estimate to go to town meeting, but you weren't going to have enough money in what you already had allocated in order to pay for that. So to help out, we wrote an amendment, and the committee approved taking our bidding phase services out of our contract so that we would add them back in after town meeting when you got more money allocated. We took that out. We took out, I think there were some supplemental services in our original contract, some things that we didn't think we were going to need anymore, and then some things, like I think we took out FF&E services, which you wouldn't need until the project was under construction anyway, and we said if you want to do that, we can add it back at a later time. So when we did that, that allowed you to balance your budget and bring the geothermal engineers on board. We all forgot to add it back in, and so we've already bid the project, we're in construction, and we're just coming back to the committee and asking you to make it official and add the bidding phase services back into our contract so that we can invoice for that work.
Yeah, so that was under the original 3.5 that was appropriated at the town meeting. If you all remember, they came here, we said, hey, we're going to run out of money, how can we fit this in? And that's what, that was their offer to do that, so we accepted it at that time, and now it just needs to be put back in.
So it's for the same amount that our original proposal was for the same scope of services.
So we knew what was coming, so. Any questions? Do I hear a motion?
I will make a motion to vote positive on Amendment 10 bidding phase services for $62,750.
Second that.
Okay.
If I could just have a small discussion point, Madam Chair? I understand this will probably pass. I'm probably going to vote no. I'm here, I'm a new member, I want to be a team member, I want to work with everyone, I don't want to be the black sheep of the team here. The last time something similar to this came up, I believe Mr. Cohen was sitting here and he expressed some amount of criticism. It was different, and I understand the context is a little bit different. I kind of really shared the feeling of the criticism that he gave at that meeting. And I give a similar kind of criticism to this one where, you know, I know you guys are doing a good job at the job you're doing, but, you know, part of that would be including not having an oversight of things like this. So I would have liked to have seen this been put in originally. You know, it appears to me that it's not in the agreement that the town is required to pay, and I'm here, I gotta represent the interests of the town, and so, I mean, maybe someone can respond to me and tell me why it is in the interest of the town to vote yes on this, but I'm feeling like I'm gonna get a lot of criticism if I just go along. Anytime something comes up like this, well, there's an oversight, well, we told you it was gonna be that, even though we knew it was that plus this, and now we're asking for the plus. I'm not trying to be too hard on you guys, but that's the reason why I'm going to vote no.
I can explain why.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have to take the money out of the original bid, and we could have run short and had to go back to the town for more money. They came forward and offered to take that exact amount out, which allowed us to go forward and complete the construction documents, which allowed us to go to town meeting. Without that, we wouldn't have been able to get to that point. Because they were willing to do that, and this is the same exact amount. It's not an increase, it's the same amount that they took out, putting it right back in just to the second phase of the contract, of the process, as opposed to the 3.5 it's in now. So it's not an unknown, it's not an unanticipated. We knew it had to come back in. It just got overlooked and we forgot to put it back in, that's all. So, again, they didn't have to say yes. They could have said, no, that's what was in the original contract. They chose to work with us to get us where we needed to get, which I appreciated their actions at that point in time, and I can understand the oversight.
And it was really the geothermal that put us over. And that was to enable some of the drillings? What was that?
It was to bring on the consultant.
Right, to do the design for the geothermal system and to do the test well as well, yeah.
And we needed that to go forward to town meeting.
Yep.
So this is a cost that we knew was coming, but
If I may just add, and, you know, I appreciate the explanation. So to me, if it was a cost that everyone here knew it was coming, it should have been on the dollars that the town meeting saw. And that's my point, is if we knew that it was going to be a cost that we needed, it needed to be on the dollars the town meeting saw. That's my point. Same as the other situation. And so,
Yeah,
I've said-
I think it is on that, within that dollar value, it just wasn't contracted. We have been working with Jason Little on all the different purchase orders and trying to coordinate all the different, you know, we track the dollars and the way we run our projects.
so
And the
could
town
you
does it
explain that a little bit more? Because this makes a difference to me. So you're saying, because I might just be a misunderstanding. Because I understand there's the documents which were whatever they were at the point of October of last year, and that's what, and I looked at them pretty closely, at least I tried, to what got to the number that the town meeting saw, what the town meeting approved. So if you're telling me, and I trust you all, if you're telling me that this was in that document, but then wasn't in what the subsequent contract, that's a different story for me. Do you know, because that's what I'm looking, the objection that I would have if it were true is if this number were something we knew we needed to expend, but we didn't tell, we all knew about it, but didn't tell the town about it, I would have a moral objection to that, and I think the town would too. But,
Yeah, I understand that. That's my understanding. I'd have to go and double check.
because I'm not sure, and because there's probably support to make it pass anyway, I'm still going to probably vote no. But I just wanted to you understand where I was coming from, not to
I think-
consider me hostile.
Yeah, and when I say oversight, I mean, it was an oversight that the letter never came to you. I think everyone here always knew that this was the process that we were taking to try to help out. And as the chief said, it's the same exact amount that was in our original contract for the same services that were in our original contract. It was just that we were trying to help the town stretch the money before town meeting with the understanding that we would, how do I put this? Just to have the paper trail work with your budget. We took it out with the understanding that we'd have to add it back in because that work still needed to be done.
Yeah, I
But it
think the
was
big
just
question
delaying
that
it.
Jacob's mentioning and is that, was it in the original, was it in the budget that was voted on at town meeting? I believe it was, and it just wasn't contracted out, so I'm pretty sure it was in there, but I can't say 100%, just like Tim can't say, because I don't have it in front of me.
Yeah, I think that the difference is this isn't an ad. This was always.
Right.
Yeah, it's not an
And there-
add-on.
what- The ad was really doing a full-blown design of the geothermal system, because the original study was, okay, we'll study, and if we want to move forward with that, then that would be an added cost. That cost wasn't in the original study cost, because you didn't know if you were going to actually need that service. So once it was determined that, yeah, that service is something we want to do, that was the ad. And so that went through and was approved, again, borrowing from Peter to pay Paul, so to speak, by making sure we could do everything we needed to do within that 3.5 million, and things that could wait, contract, and put those in later. So, but I understand your concern and not being here for that, why, you just want to make sure that type of thing is identified right up front.
I appreciate you. Again, I don't want to give the wrong signal to you all. I support you, I support the work you're doing. I know you're doing every bit of work that you say you're doing, and if me voting no, that doesn't look very good, well, we did the work. But I've explained to you what my concern was, so thanks for letting me.
Do I hear any other discussion? Do I hear a motion?
The motion was made.
That was
we
the
just need to
discussion,
vote.
yeah.
Motion, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, any other business to come before the board?
The exterior
Yep.
finishes, we need to talk about a
We need to
little
talk about
bit.
exterior finishes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Pretty stuff.
Purdy stuff. So we started getting some submittals from the contractor for the exterior finishes. As you remember, we presented a palette during the design phase and agreed to certain colors. And now is the time for the contractor to submit either those things that we specified or equivalents. In most cases, they have submitted exactly what we specified. So on the chalk rail there, the red brick and the brown brick, the two boards in the middle, are what we showed you during the design phase. And down at the floor level, those are what they submitted, and it's the exact same product. I can pick them up, too.
It's
if
okay.
that's-
No, Dan and I can pick them up.
So they're the exact same products that we showed you during the design phase and that the contractor submitted. For some of the other products, thank you. The other masonry product you see on the right-hand side over here, the board, I am going to have to get up away from the microphone. Thank you. So during the design phase, we showed you this stone, which happens right at grade on the building. There's, you see one course or maybe two courses of this stone before the brick starts. This product was our basis of design. This comes out of Canada, and the contractor was concerned about the potential for tariffs, so they picked one of our equivalents that we put in the specifications, which is this sample here. It's very similar in color. The veining is a little bit different, but we think it's close enough that we would certainly recommend approving that. Thank you. We have, this is a cast stone product. It doesn't happen in many locations. This happens at the top of the parapet walls around the roof decks. It happens at the top of the dumpster enclosure. We were trying to match this, which is very similar to the brick colors. It's a little bit different. And honestly, we just got this about a half an hour before the committee meeting. I haven't even looked at it outside yet. Looking at it inside, I'm a little bit concerned about the color. I think I would like to go back to the contractor and see if they can do a little bit better on this.
A
So
little more red in there, maybe?
yeah,
Not
it's a little.
color
It
specialist.
seems a little cool in this light. It makes all the difference in the world when you see it in the daylight. Yeah, so I think we just got to take another quick look at that. We've got, what? Mortar.
You should rehearse this a little bit better.
forgot that you have to be close to the microphones, or I wouldn't have put everything up against the wall over there. We've got some mortar samples. What we're recommending that you put with the red brick and with the brown brick. A nice match. We've got a slightly different color that we are recommending for the stone.
I think you have. The one that was up on here.
I do, I just need this one, thank you. This is very close, but in the daylight, it's a little bit different, and we think it works a little bit better with the stone. What we typically do, what I'm looking at here for mortar samples are pieces of plastic that the manufacturer sends out. We typically ask the contractor to put together a 3-brick mock-up, so they'll take 3 bricks and lay it up with an actual sample of the mortar so that we can just verify that the plastic matches their colors. But these are what we would recommend for that. And then I do not have samples of the metal roof yet, or the windows and doors, so we called for a custom color. This was the color that we showed you during design. We heard from the contractor that they intend to submit this manufacturer, but I don't have that submittal yet, so I can't approve the product yet. But since we did call for a custom design, we would recommend continuing with this color. Same thing for the windows and doors and the folding doors at the apparatus bay and some of the metal accent trim. We had looked at this during the design phase, and again, we called for a custom color, so we would recommend approving that, and we'll just get color matches from all the manufacturers for that. So I think at this point, if you're willing to vote to let us go ahead with those selections, then we can pass that information on to the contractor.
With the exception of the one that doesn't match, or?
Like, with the exception of the cast stone, I think we want to take another try at that.
Okay. Do I hear a motion?
So moved?
Second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Right?
Right?
I
Thank
think
you.
they did a pretty good job, except for that one is way off, but I think everything else looks pretty good.
Yeah, it's tough. This is actually the second pass that they took, so we'll try again.
Try third.
Okay. Establish future meeting date, and we've said the fourth Wednesday of every month, so
That's the
August
27th.
27th, 2025, at 6 PM.
Everybody, work for everybody?
Works for me.
Okay.
Excellent.
Can I ask one question on the other business quickly, Chair? Would it be possible, I don't have an urgent time frame or anything for this, but it would be really helpful if, I know that we've had environmental testing done on the soil, if I could know where I could go to take a look at that or have a report sent. I'm not asking for more work to be done, but if I could figure out where I could go to see that, if I can go to the site or something, or what's the easiest way for me to get to point A to point B, just so I can take a look. I'm sure everything's being done appropriately and everything's being treated appropriately. It's just, I feel like, put here to help with oversight, I better try to do some oversight. That's
Yeah,
what-
the town hired a licensed site professional, so he does those tests, and we can get copies through the chief to you.
That would be great if you could. I don't,
Send them to me and I'll make
not
sure they go
urgent,
out.
but when you can, that would be super.
It's not that hard. They get submitted all the time, so I'm sure he has copies of them.
Yeah, it's just making sure we have like a complete report.
Right.
Um,
I understand.
And, we expect to get those reports before we pay the contractor for removing that stuff, so.
And they may be ongoing, so they're not ready to close the report. I get,
Yeah.
all of that being said, I just am trying to say, at some point, I'd like to look at it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Are you looking for what they did with it, or what are you
Just,
looking for?
yeah, sort of like, just to make sure that it all ended up going where it should go. And I'm sure it was, but I want to be able to report to the residents that I made sure it was.
Yeah, I went to 3 different locations. I think we can actually provide that with
Okay,
you.
so
Pretty easy.
whatever I need to be able to say, I checked, and it was done correctly.
Yeah, Capital Environmental is the company that we're working with, so with their invoices, I have the backup so that we can get you that.
Okay.
I heard you mention going to the site. We're not
Well,
allowed on
I
site.
didn't think so, but I was just trying to say, I don't know what's the easiest way to get the information, so.
No, that's electronically is probably the easiest. But, you know, what we'll do is we'll filter, what we've been doing is filtering everything through the chief.
Yep.
That way the
It's
communication.
easy to, it's like one-stop. Everything comes to me, I make sure it gets to, I don't always look at it apparently, but I make sure it gets sent out to everybody and we'll make sure
Yeah,
it
just
gets to.
to the board would be great.
Yep.
Like I said, not super urgent, just something on my,
I think it's a good idea.
Punch list.
Nothing wrong with that at all.
thank you.
Motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All those in favor? See you on the 27th of August.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you.
See you, John. How's your summer going?
Good, just got back.